sneaking up on the bees, although they'll probably get me. I think we got orientation flights happening. And we're extremely busy. They're going to their new home tomorrow, so they're going to have to do it all over again. I wonder if they know I'm moving them tomorrow to a new home. If I go away and come back in about an hour, this will all be calmed down. I can zoom in on the front there. I might include this on tomorrow's video. How'd you go? Yeah, okay, now you ratchet this.
Yeah.
Don't have to pull that quite that tight, because this will ratchet up.
Yeah, no.
And that bit you just sort of... Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I'll just stop a little bit.
Yeah, just go steady.
Oh, angry girl buzzing around me.
I didn't realise there was that many out this morning. There was only one when I put the front cover on.
Oh, that's always going to happen.
Yeah, you always lose a few.
You can't completely.
Yep. Okay, packed up, going to the new home. We'll just go get the rest of the stuff and put it in, and we're ready to rock and roll. Off to Pittsworth. Jeff's taking us in his ute, so that should be good. Alright, we'll catch you in a minute. Road trip!
Want the road trip footage I was just downloaded off the web and off the dash cam? We don't front end rear there.
Oh, no way. No, this will be fine. Don't see that every day. Truck on the wrong side of the highway. Roadworks is awesome.
This whole hill thing is ruining my economy situation.
You're ready. You're worried about fuel economy.
11.7.
I'm worried about cars driving on the wrong side of the highway. You're worried about fuel economy.
Really, trucks? It's fine.
Yeah, I'd say that side's being worked on.
I think that's all might be closed.
Yeah. Hey, we might have fun coming home. We'll have to come back through Toowoomba. Yeah.
This range thing is really missing my economy. 11.6. Economy is plummeting. So I think the things that are lower here than it actually needs to be. That's just D-Max life. This should be 100 for a year.
Well, it's roadwork, so it won't do 100.
But on this side.
I know that, but they don't know
We're
that.
on a really big bridge.
Oh, we are.
Long
Look at that.
bridge.
Groovy.
Imagine how much will this cost.
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder how many billions of dollars we have got.
Oh, bees, you're on your way to your new home.
You can't turn their money.
Probably forgot to turn his indicator off. Hope the bees like their new home.
Crops and stuff around the place.
And we're within their fly zone now, almost. They're about 15 k's to go or something. It's not quite in their fly zone. They usually only fly up to 10-ish at the maximum. That's why when you move bees, you've got to move them more than 18 k's. It's out of their fly zone.
Put a bunch of branches in front of them.
Yeah, well, you can do that too. Bees going to the new home. Oops, bouncy with my camera. You all good? Yeah, I'll give you this. Alright,
Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this.
with the strap.
Get rid of the strap.
Should be able to undo that. I might stand over this way. Let them go to their new home. There's already one on the front, so I think she might have been in the back of the ute trying to get back in.
Journey in the back of the ute all the way from Brisbane.
Yeah. And we can leave the strap because that way if Ian wants to, we can tie it down so it doesn't blow away in the wind. Not that it should anyway. And when we put the second box on as well, it'll just help to keep it all together. You can lift the lid off, but it doesn't have to be ratcheted tight. It's just got to be just a little bit of firm.
Put that back on.
No, that's coming off.
Just leaving that off together.
Yeah, it's got a reduced entrance in the actual hive, so it doesn't need it.
Gives me the wrong direction.
Yeah, I've got to keep you on your toes.
What do you reckon? Are they busy?
Yeah, they will be when they come out. That's why I'm standing over here.
Oh, girls, don't be impatient. Are drones girls, eh?
Drones are the boys.
And they don't do anything. They don't do anything.
Well, they do with the
Ready?
queen. Yeah, when you're ready.
Yeah, girls. Oh, they come out with their bums up.
So,
You work in the beach, take the top off and you look down and all their backsides are in there. Oh, right. And then you're like, yeah, right, eh? It's amazing. Thing to do with nature. How you can tell, horses if they're in forward, how What do you reckon there'll be enough flowering around the place here?
They can fly up to 10k.
10k.
They're flying.
Cool.
And you got like all the wildflowers around the place. They love all these.
Yeah.
Because that's what our area is.
They're already calming down, which is good. If I run, we're going to watch. Just make sure the queen's not on there. I'm pretty sure she's marked.
We were pulling trees out with the Condamine River back when I was about 22 or 3, I suppose.
Yep.
And, there was a log we pulled. We didn't realise we hooked onto it.
Yep.
And that had a winch on the back of the dozer. We wanted to swing. And the winch this money log in there and kept posting me on the police side of it. So they weren't too happy about that.
No, they are.
Elliot was the fastest runner in the world at that stage of the game, and I reckon I could have really beaten him.
I reckon you probably would
Then
get
I
the
had
chase.
to come back and get the tractor, so
There's a few cells on that one that have got brood on it. A lot of it's hatched. Yeah, there's always usually a bit of pollen that in there as well with them.
That's all you breed.
Those slightly darker cap cells, and then along the top there's honey, which they use to feed the babies.
looking good, isn't it?
They're pretty good. Yeah. If it all looks pretty good, as long as those frames are all close together, you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, just make sure they haven't moved around or anything. See, they're not too bad. I'll stand here, just in case. No, not yet.
You can also tell by how much noise they make too if they're getting hungry.
Yeah. This one's got a bit more brood on it by the looks of it. And a lot of this is hatched on this side.
Oh, he's brutal.
Yep. Careful because frames are,
Sideways.
yeah. I did that with one of them the other day. I had to put it back that way. Because these ones are foundationless, they'll the foundation can fall out of them. But I only put them in the bottom. So the ones in the top, they'll be good because if you ever need to spin the honey out, or if you want to do it the old way, you can just crush the honeycomb and squeeze the honey out.
Yeah.
You can do it that way as well. Yep.
So they've made all that honeycomb?
Yeah, that's all made themselves.
If that was just an empty frame.
Sorry? No, these ones didn't even have that. These were just the frame.
Yes.
No, they're just the frames, those ones. Yeah, I didn't even put starter strips in those. Yep. Yeah, if they're all closed up close together, as long as there's no big gaps, you might have to move the two outer ones in a little. You always put your spacing to the outside.
Yeah.
That way, if there's any extra spaces on the outside, and if it's all close together, the bees will make the comb to the size that they need, and they'll have their own bee space in between. If you give them too much space, say we spread them out a bit more, if you ever come along later and need to do any work on them, and they're too wide and you try to move a frame, what can happen is you can actually push that frame into the other, and they don't have the space then, and they can't get in there and do it. Or the bees that are in the cells can't get out.
Yeah.
So that's why you push them all together,
Gives them
and then they'll make their own space, and they'll have the right room between the frames. And if there's any extra, it's always on the outside, and your outside frames are where all your honey is.
Yeah, right.
So if you ever needed to, you could always pull the outer frame out and put a new fresh frame in.
And a bit easier to get it in and out if you've got
That's-
them off the edge too,
That's
I
right.
suppose.
Yeah, that's right. So the queen excluder goes on, and because all those
One one box
It-
to the other.
Yeah, so what it'll do is, it's, do you want to put the other one on, or you're going to make sure she's not there? If she's there, you'll have to take the lid off and bang them in.
How do you mark it?
With a paint pen, and you've got a little cage you can put them in.
Yeah, right.
I don't do a lot of it, but
So she's in the bottom now.
she should be in the bottom. So you're just making sure she's not there. Last thing you want to do is leave her in the top, otherwise all your honey's full of brood then, which is all right. It just means the bottom one turns into honey.
Yeah, that's right.
You can do it that way. Some beekeepers do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just normal bees?
So you fellas just do this for recreation, more or less?
More or less, yeah. This is more of a hobby. But yeah, been doing it for a long time. Yeah, well, they can smell the wax. That goes on that one.
Pretty amazing artwork on Rose's behalf. It all lines up beautifully there. Nice work. Far more creative than the rest of us.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all Jeff will do is make sure all the frames in the top are all close together, give them the same bee space.
Yeah.
They'll start coming up through there, and they'll start working on all that and turning it into honey.
Right.
Because it's separate from the bottom, the queen can't get in there, so they know that she can't get in there.
That's where they
So they'll, once they start building that wax out, it'll
I'm just wondering, Ian, there shouldn't be cattle ever getting here. But I'm just wondering if we should just put a bit of fence around it.
just in case.
That's not a bad idea. We've got space there to do it.
Yeah. Space is nice and even, pretty much.
Oh, we've already got these in there.
You already got bees in there? It's even better. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They're all the same spacing, yep. That's it, all pushed in and gaps on the outside. Put the lid on top, and you can put that strap back on, and that's just to keep the lid on in the breeze. It's
Awesome.
just while I was going to the internet, Dave Garrett was coming on Tuesday, late Tuesday, he just told me.
cool.
Well done. That's awesome, guys. That's such a good outcome.
Yep.
They're not going crazy or anything.
No, they're pretty good. They're nice and calm.
Kangaroos can't.
They don't normally, and if this is all strapped, worst thing is they'll run into it. It shouldn't fall over. Once it's full of honey, they won't knock it over. It'll be too heavy. It'll be way too heavy. Yeah. Roughly 3 kilos out of a frame, and you got 8 frames at the top.
Gets so you've got about 30 jars. Phil. Start washing out the old jars, eh?
You can go all the way around. You don't have to go. I'll teach him how to use straps. Do you need me to come over?
No straps. You can come here and hold one of them if you want.
No, I'm going to video and laugh. I have to make another bloopers reel shortly, you see. So.
You get a few moments.
All right. Just grab it from underneath. It's just to keep it together. It's not to ratchet it and pull it tight. It's just to keep it together.
Yeah.
You just tighten it a little bit. It's just so it doesn't go anywhere.
How good is that? Well done, Jeff. That's true.
You made them.
Yeah, I made all those. Yeah. I bought them as a kit and put them together. I didn't mill the wood and everything. I bought it flat pack and then put it together. And then Rose did all the artwork. You don't have to, but we just thought it'd be nice to be something different.
Yeah.
And
Very nice.
it looks different. It's not like every other white beehive out there. Like ours is actually ours is just the wood, and we've cleared it basically, and done the similar-ish pattern, but ours is actually burnt into the wood, so it's all
right.
so it just looks like honeycomb on it. It's all burnt into the wood. So yeah, so they're flying all around it because they're just trying to work out where they are, where their house is. They're getting used to everything in the area, finding. And if you have other bees nearby, sometimes they'll come and sniff around, see if they can get in.
Yeah.
But because the only way they can get in is through the front, the guard bees at the front will keep them out, and they'll learn that they can't get in. That's also why it has a smaller entrance. Most people have a entrance the whole width of the beehive.
Yeah.
And most commercial guys do, which is fine when you've got thousands of beehives or even hundreds. But when you've got a single beehive, it's better to have a reduced entrance because in nature, if they find a hollow in a tree, it's usually a small entrance and they'll defend it. And the smaller the entrance is, the easier it is for them to guard it. If it's a great big huge entrance, well, you need more bees to guard it. So if you have a smaller hive or like a smaller colony, they can defend really well if they have a small entrance. So that's why the entrance, we put a little reducer on it so it's a bit smaller in opening.
They won't accept any new additions.
Well, if the new ones come in loaded with honey and pollen, they usually accept them because what they do is go, hey, you're going well, you got us all this food, and they let them in. But if they have bees coming in to try and find food and they're robbing it, they'll stand there and you'll actually, if you watch them, if you're silly like I do and stand there and watch them, you can actually see them and they'll rear up on their back legs and they put their front legs up and their mandibles open, they try to catch them. And if they do get hold of them, they'll roll around with them or they'll sting them or they'll pull their wings off. And then they drop them at the front of the hive. Of course, the ants eat them. And you don't come in here. So
So are there foreman bees that decide who becomes the defenders?
pretty much. It works. The colony kind of works on its own. And believe it or not, even though the queen's the important one, does all the laying, she doesn't actually rule it. If the other bees,
she's too busy, mate.
that's right. And if the other bees don't like her, or she's not laying enough eggs, or they don't think she's performing well, or she gets sick, they'll make a new queen themselves. They make new queen cells. They'll make sure she lays an egg in it, and they'll get a new queen, and then the old queen gets turfed. They'll either kill her, they'll chase her out, or usually spring management, they want to automatically split. That's what they naturally do. So they'll make queen cells and they'll chase her out, and she'll take half the colony with her. Generally all bees work together as one big one big unit. Yeah.
It would be a terribly interesting hobby.
It will be a terribly interesting hobby.
It will be.
For you, but not for me.
But not for Dad.
You might get hooked on these bees.
I don't think so, mate. I got other stuff to
Too much us to do. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yes. The honey's the great part. Yep.
I won't even have to ask.
Yeah, see, they're just trying to work out where they are, what's going on, because depending on where. I think in my place it was roughly the same sort of setup, east and west and everything, or actually around a little. So they're probably a little confused as to where they were as to where they are now, and they're just trying to work out, oh, hang on, where's my entrance? I've come back and I don't know where I am. It'll take them a little bit to work out, oh, hang on, it's on the other side.
So
they work all that out.
Is there a preferred way to have your opening? To the east, perhaps?
Northeast.
No, northeast is usually the best, but they don't have to, because in nature they'll go anywhere.
Yeah, right. So you're facing east there.
Yeah. Well, see, with east, when the sun comes up, it'll get the morning sun on the front of the hive, and they'll go, oh, and they'll be straight out. As soon as the sun's up, they're trying to find somewhere. And towards the east is always the best for them in the southern hemisphere. And in the northern hemisphere, they face southeast, I think is the way they do them over there, where we're more northeast. But it's just because of where the sun is. Because also in winter, the sun's further over than what it is. She lays over.
Any need in the future to read it at a different angle for any reason?
Don't really need to, no. Once you put them in, unless you aren't happy and you want to move them, like I said, you just move them a little bit at a time. If you want to do a complete turnaround, face it this way, every day you just turn it slowly around, and they'll just work out where they are. It's not a big thing, but if you turn it around now, anything that's come out this way is going to come back to that end and go, hang on, I can't get in. And and it'll confuse them.
Yeah, this will be good. We can see the sun's there. It'll be between the trees, so they'll
Yeah.
get a bit of it. But,
Yeah.
once the afternoon's
It's over that way, yeah. And it's usually the morning sun that they orientate to anyway, but
through the day,
they work it all out as they go along, yeah. Yeah, it's no issue, and they're usually quite happy.
You do some video with your own, do you?
Looks like he's going to. And he's off. He'll probably put this on his YouTube channel,
Yeah, good.
which is cool. Oh, that's cool. It's awesome.
Come together pretty quick, don't they?
Yeah, it did. I think they'll be happy.
What's going to happen if we're not happy?
Well, they're going to have to be happy, or Ian's going to have a lot of upset bees. Yeah. No, they're usually pretty good. Like, it's already, because they've because it's also new, the activity at the front's like there's almost nothing coming out. So they're doing a lot of work on the inside now, because they're going, all right, we're in a new place, and then they'll start sending them out to work out, like they're starting to zip around a little.
These guys do the recon work.
Yeah, that's it.
They can come home.
Yeah. The bees that do all the outside work are actually all your oldest bees. They're not your
Yeah.
newest bees.
Okay.
So when you actually see them coming out doing their orientation flights and they're sort of zipping around and then coming back, normally they're probably around 6 weeks onwards old,
Yeah, right.
having been hatched.
Old enough to get out and have a look.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the ones at the end of their life that go out and do all the honey.
Yeah.
When they first hatch, the first few weeks they're in the hive doing all the work in the hive. They're cleaning out all the cells from where all the bees have come out of. They look after the queen. They store the honey in the cells. They store the pollen in the cell. Well, most of the ones with the pollen store it in the cells themselves.
Yes.
If they need to move the honey around in the box, sometimes to dehydrate the nectar, they'll actually take it out of the cells and move it to another cell, and they'll move it around the hive to dehydrate it, depending on where the sun is, how hot the box is, to where the best spot is to dehydrate the honey, to turn it into honey before they cap it. That's it, yeah. Yeah, they do. The youngest ones make all the wax to make all the new wax in the hive.
Yeah.
The older ones don't tend to do a lot of the wax work, but they can, but they don't normally, depending on the size. That hive at the moment is probably, I would say, anywhere in the vicinity of about 30,000+ bees.
Yeah, wow.
So by the time they start working on the top bit and all those other ones hatch and then they lay more, it could end up with 60,000 to 80,000 bees in one beehive.
Yep.
So that's why, like I said, next year if you put another beehive here and you split it and start a next hive, if you pull them out and if you don't find the queen, you can either let them make their own queen or you can buy a queen and put one in. There's advantages and disadvantages to all that. The good thing is you've got good genetics, you probably want to keep your good genetics, but the queen that goes out to mate, you don't know who she's mating with, and they could have bad genetics.
Yeah.
So the good thing with if you buy a queen, usually registered queen breeders have good genetics, so you're usually getting a good queen. The other advantage with buying a queen is that if you buy a queen, put her in, they accept her, and then she'll go in and start laying. She's laying straight away. Whereas if you have to wait, they've got to make the queen. You've got to wait 14 days before she gets around to hatching.
Yes.
So there's 2 weeks. Then she has to wander around in there. Then she has to go out and do mating flights. That's if she comes back from a mating flight.
Yeah.
And then if she comes back, she won't start laying for another couple of weeks. So you're down a month.
Yeah, right.
So you've lost out on months of production of bees. So I kind of understand why people buy queens and put them in. Plus, if you go to somebody who's got queens, as I said, they're usually always good. Then they're like these, they're nice and calm. And it's not you getting a queen coming back and you may end up with rogue bees, and the next time you come to your bees you go, geez, they're really buzzing, and and they're trying to attack you and they're stinging and like mad, and you really don't want them stinging. So I've kind of been convinced into buying queens now, although everyone that Jeff and I've done, we've always let them make their own.
Yeah. So
And we've been lucky, the queens that we've got, they've always been
good.
obviously good genetics where we are, but I couldn't get these ones to requeen when I first split them, and I was getting worried because I thought, well, if I leave them too long, what will happen is if they don't get their own queen, one of the workers will then learn to start laying, and all they do is lay drones,
Yeah.
and drones are always boys, and then you end up with no bees because
Yeah. Right.
they won't mate with any of
No.
the normal bees.
Yeah, that's right.
They only mate with queens, so that's why I
Chinese and
Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up, I went and bought this queen, and
So they got her out of the plastic box through that sugar
yeah, that
layer.
little, yeah. All I did was put it in the top. I put it on top first, and all the bees went to it, and they were feeding it through it. So I knew, okay, because if you put the queen in the little cage on the bees, and you notice they're trying to turn and trying to put their tail towards them. So what they're doing is they're trying to sting the queen.
Yeah.
You know, they're not
Bad
accepting her straight away. But
They still
because
can accept
they can, yeah. But you just got to be careful. But I found when I put it on top, they were all going in. They're just trying to feed her. So I went, okay, well they're obviously going to accept her.
Yeah.
So I put her between two frames and just kept it, like just pushed it through between two frames, and they were all over it just trying to feed her. And then they started eating the candy block. As soon as they ate the candy block, it was only 2 days later I went in and I took the queen cage out and she was gone. I went, oh, well, she's obviously in there.
Yeah.
And then we went through, I think it was the following weekend, and I had Renee, which you've probably seen in the video. Renee was with me,
She's doing it, yeah.
and pulled up the frames, and hey presto, they're full of brood. And I went, well, this is great. They're full of
Yeah.
brood already,
That's right.
because all my brood would have hatched out by that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as you've seen, it's full of brood now. So they're obviously going to
So,
town.
what's the next steps around it, Trev?
Well, as I said, probably in 3 weeks or so, because you really don't have to check them for quite a while. But I would say maybe in 3 weeks, if I come back, or if you want to do it yourself, but I can come back and we'll open up, we'll go through the top and see how they're going.
Yeah.
If there is a lot of nectar around, as I said, they'll start drawing all that comb,
They might have
and
honey
then
in 3 or 4 weeks.
they may.
Yeah.
It's not unusual; it can happen.
Yeah.
But not always. Like I said, with my hive, I put a second box on mine. It took months before I got any honey. But I made sure the bottom box was full first.
Yeah.
If you ever add more boxes, you always make sure what you've got there is already full.
Yeah.
If you want to add more honey supers, which some people do, I don't, but if you do, I would recommend you take that one off and you put the next one in between.
Oh, yeah.
Because then when they come up, before they get to the top one, they'll go, oh, there's more space here, so they'll work on the ones in between.
Does that affect what goes on the top or not?
No,
You need
because
another spacer in there as well?
no, you only have the one, because you keep them in the bottom.
Yeah.
Or if you do like mine, I have got the smaller one, which is an ideal,
Yeah.
which is about half size, but I put it below that queen excluder, and that way the queen can lay in both.
Okay.
But you also don't normally take honey out of that second one. You usually leave it for the bees,
Okay.
and that way you're only taking the excess.
Yeah, right.
But even like this is fine.
So don't take it out ever.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. They don't need it. They just leave it for them. And
You
let 'em-
can do, yeah. So long as you still do your brood inspections usually a couple of times a year and go through the bottom box.
Yeah.
And because what you also look for is how much room they've got.
Yeah.
If they start packing the bottom full of honey,
Yeah.
you know, all right, well, they're using too much space down here.
Yep.
You need to put new frames in. Or if you extract some honey, so you took a couple of frames out of the bottom,
Yeah.
and you
you
could
do that?
extract it and then put them back in as stickies. They'll take all that honey that's left off,
Okay.
and then once they've taken that honey off, she can then use those cells to lay in,
Yeah. That's awesome.
so that she's got more space to lay. Because you don't want them getting honey bound. When they're honey bound is they've filled it with so much honey,
Yeah.
there's no room for her to lay. That's when they'll decide they want to split, and she'll take off, and then they'll leave a queen cell in there, and then you end up with
Yeah.
a new hive, and you don't even know that you got a new. Sometimes you don't even know.
Yeah.
You can actually. Some people leave their hives out here for so long, they only come a couple of times a year and look at them.
And then it's a problem.
They might have already swarmed, you don't even know.
Yeah, right.
I'm probably getting in mine a little bit too much, to be honest. But at the same time, I can see what's going on, and I like doing little bee videos as well, and people can see what's going on. And if you say, oh, okay, you open it up and it's, packed full of honey in the bottom,
Yeah.
you go, all right, well, you can pull some of them out. Like I said, you extract them, you put them back in, they'll clean up whatever's left,
Yeah.
and then they'll actually eat most of that honey,
Yeah.
and they'll use that for feeding the babies and whatever they need to do,
Yeah.
and then they'll then reuse those cells to lay in.
Which is its purpose, how they would
Yeah.
normally work in nature,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, well, what'll happen is if a beehive in nature gets too big, and they use all the room up and they're getting too much honey, then they do an automatic split. Because half the hive, what they do is they'll gorge themselves on as much honey as they can,
Yep.
and then they leave, and you lose half the hive.
Yeah, right.
Whatever's left will stay, and then they're going to consume the honey while a new queen is like over that 2 month, like month and a bit
Yeah,
period,
right.
while she's hatching and then starts to lay and all the rest.
Yeah.
By that time, they've used a lot of the honey stores,
Yeah.
and then the new brood is using the honey stores,
That's their reserve.
and then then the queen starts laying and then starts backfilling with eggs,
Yeah,
and the queen's and it's smaller again. So all we're doing by splitting is doing what they would do naturally,
Yeah,
just making it a bit easier, and then you get a second box,
yeah.
and then a third box or a fourth box or
No, that's good.
20 boxes, 100 boxes. The next thing you're a commercial
You're a
beekeeper.
primary producer.
Yeah, that's it. Which can happen really quickly, actually.
It's
depending on how you do.
addictive,
Oh,
right?
it is. It is
Much
addictive. Yeah.
success that we can become addicted to the hobby.
Mm.
I can't believe how excited I am to see this set up. It's
Mm.
just amazing the work you've done to get it to this point.
Yeah. Well, see, there's a couple of bees. They're sneaking in the back there, and
Yeah.
they've gone in under that tray. But they'll get in and realise they can't get in. They'll end up coming back out and going to the front.
Yeah.
So they've just sort of snuck in there because
No
there's
way in there at all, eh?
well, it's a screen bottom board.
Yeah.
So up in underneath there's a screen, and they can't actually get in there.
Yeah.
So they'll either do one of two things. They'll either keep trying or they'll come out and go around the front, or if they keep trying too long and if they pass away, you end up with a few dead bees in there.
Yeah.
And it's what happens.
Yep. Nature.
And like I said, because the bees that are coming back with the honey, they're at the end of their life anyway.
Yeah.
People get really upset. They go, oh no, I've lost my bees or they've all died. Well, the ones that are coming back are at the end of their life. So
Yeah.
their normal life cycle, they actually don't usually make it back to the hive.
So where do they just...
Wherever they are out in the field, and
Yeah.
they just pass away.
Yeah.
And then other insects like ants and whatever just collect their bodies and chew them up and
Yeah.
eat them and use them for food. It's just part of the life cycle.
Yes.
So if you end up with a few dead bees here and there, it's what happens. It's just part of. Don't be super alarmed. If you've got like thousands of bees, well, yeah, you've got a big problem,
Yeah.
or hundreds of bees. But like I've even pulled my tray out on the back of my pet because mine's a little bit different. I've got a pest management tray,
Yeah.
and I had one of these till I lost the hives in the floods that we had last year. But and they were good. I like this.
Yeah.
It's just the other one come with a pest tray,
Yeah.
and it's really good. But sometimes I end up with the bees going in there. They manage to get their way in, and they end up dying in there. And you pull the tray out, and you see,
Waste bees.
oh, I've got like 50 bees or 100 bees in here, and you're like, oh, and you get a bit panicky. But then you remember, well, at the end of their life, they're not really
Yeah. That's
from the hive.
There
So
you go.
yeah,
One
just
of them just climbed
just
in.
climbed
and
in.
I just saw he climbed in a few minutes ago and he just came out.
come back out. Yeah,
Yeah, figured
yeah.
it out.
And there's a little housefly down there trying to get in.
Yeah.
He's looking around, going, could be food here.
So this mightn't be a bad spot because that sun, you get it first thing in the morning, but right now
It's
pretty
shady,
protected for
yeah,
them
and it might get a little bit in the afternoon,
do, yeah.
but it's probably not too bad by the afternoon anyway.
Plenty
yeah,
of
we're going to
flowers
tree
over there
all
they
this
can
up.
go to.
So this,
The beehives over there, all settled in. Should be nice and happy. Their new home. Water everywhere, lovely little dam over there, a little creek through here with a spring-fed thing. Comes up from the side around here. So yeah, it's awesome. Another wonderful day working with bees. I'll be happy. Talk with Ian and come back in a few weeks and go through them and see how they're going. So yeah, thanks for watching everyone, and we'll catch you next time and put up some more bee videos soon. Bye for now.